It is official. We are recording. Okay. So we've talked about graphing. We've talked about the slope-intercept formula. We've talked about the standard formula, right?
Yeah.
We know how to graph both, right? Now, a lot of times when I ask somebody to tell me what is the slope formula, they tell me y equals mx plus b. But what is that formula? Y equals mx plus b. What's that called?
Intercept.
Oh, that's the slope-intercept formula. That's really a big difference, right? A big difference, because the slope-intercept formula is a formula that starts with y equals, right? This is only talking about the m, right? In the y equals mx plus b. This is only talking about the m, the mountain slope, right? How gradual or how steep is that slope, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about today, just the m. So like if I asked you to, let me just think for 1 second, I want to do it this way. So okay, we'll do 2, 4, okay, we'll use that, well, we'll do 2, 4. Let's say find, this would be an example of what we would do. Find the slope of the line that passes through, I'm going to abbreviate my through like that. Okay, I didn't spell it wrong, I just spelled it wrong. Okay, that passes through 2, 4 and 6, 8.
Do you need 2 coordinates to do the formula?
Do I need 2 coordinates to do the formula? I do, actually. Yes, good question. I need 2 coordinates. But first of all, we're going to look at it on a graph, and then I'm going to show you how to do it algebraically, right? The graph is the picture way. It's drawing it out, and oh, no problem. You can figure it out no problem with a graph. So let's plot it first. So remember, this is my x, and this is my y, and on a graph, this is my x-axis, this is my y-axis. So whenever I see x, the first number, I always go right or I go left. If it was negative, I would go left, and if it was positive, I would go right. From this point right here, this is called the origin. That's the origin. And then for my y's, the second number is my y's, that would tell me to go up or down, right? So this is like a map. It says I go to the right 2, and then I go up 4. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the right 2, 1, 2. But I'm not going to put a dot yet, because it says I have to also go up 4 before I put my dot. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right about there.
So is it basically just doing the same thing as you would normally do to graph something?
Sort of. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Hang on. So now the next one, 6, 8. 1, so after I start at 0, 0, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what I needed. That was my x, right? That's my x. This is my y. So I went over to 6, but now I got to go up 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Somewhere around there, right?
Somewhere.
It's hard when I don't have grid paper, graph paper. So now we have a straight line here. Oh dear, I'm really good at straight lines.
Right away.
Lovely. Okay, we have a straight line there.
Perfect,
Gary, your art skills are outstanding. You should talk to Aaron about an internship.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
There we go.
So we have 2 dots, right? We have 2 dots, and we have to find the slope. And we remember that slope, the letter that we always use for slope is M, because it stands for mountain slope. So M is our mountain slope, and it equals, what is the wording that you say for that? Say again? Rise over run. You guys all agree with me? Rise over run. That's the way you figure out slope. You got to figure out some way to do that. So you rise a certain amount, and then you run a certain amount to get to the
we have to find,
So let's figure out our rise. So if I always go from left to right, always go, if you use the graph, go left to right, okay? Always important to do that. So I find a left point, and I'm gonna figure out what is my rise that I would have to go to get to here. I would have to rise 1, 2, 3, 4. That looks right. Does that look right to you guys?
so basically.
And then I gotta go 1, 2, let's see here, where am I?
So wait, with, the,
Wait,
1,
wait, wait,
2, 3, 4. And that's 4 here. Okay.
so with the slope formula, we're trying to find the rise over run.
Yes, exactly. Bullseye.
So,
So my rise was 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and my run was 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise was 4 and my run was 4. What's my slope? 1, right? So that's pretty easy. Now the thing is though, you're not always going to have all this space on your paper, right? To draw a gorgeous graph. Doesn't work, you know? Like on the homework tonight, you don't have all that space. Well, you might figure it out somewhere, but you really don't. And so we're going to talk about how to do it algebraically. And think about it, if this was my rise from here to here, the way I could have gotten that is I could have done this. I could have said, okay, this height is as high as I would need to go, right? So I need to find this point right here. Wouldn't you agree with me if I took this from here to here, which is what? It's 8, right? It's my 8 all the way up. And I subtracted this, which is my 4, which is, look at that, it's that one. Subtracted this from this, I would get rid of this and I would have just this left over. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then to find this, if I took this whole thing and I said that was my 6, that's up to 6, right? That was my x all the way over to 6. And I subtracted this 2 from it. And then I'd no longer have this, I would just have my 4. So that's what we're going to use. And this is the formula.
So with the slope formula, it's just rise over run.
It's
not
basically,
anything.
yes, it is rise over run. However, it's going to look different when we write it algebraically. I'll show you. So this is, I'll go ahead and write it as rise over run first, so you can remember that. And then I'm going to say equals delta y over delta x. Delta is a Greek term, a Greek symbol. And in math it means, does anybody know what it means?
Try.
That was brilliant, brilliant.
How'd you
Slope.
get that?
I thought you were going to say
it's
circle.
like,
Circles. I hate circles.
Okay. A triangle means change, right? So it means the change in something. Now when you figure out a change, let's say it was 100 degrees yesterday outside. Today it's only 70. What's the change in temperature? 30. How did you get that? You subtracted, right? You took 100 minus. Change always means subtract.
Michael's a genius.
He is. Change, you guys all agree, you agree with them though, right? Change means subtract, right? So that's all we're doing. I'm just going to make sure that we're still live. I realize I didn't plug this in. It's okay, we've got plenty of juice. So rise or run, where am I? Change. Change means subtract. So another way this formula is often written, I prefer this, just tell you, this is what I prefer. The next one I'm about to write is what a lot of kids prefer. I personally think you're making it too hard with this next one, right? That's just my opinion. But this is what it is. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
what?
So write that down, and then I'll talk more.
I prefer the delta.
So technically that is, a lot of times people will write that as their slope formula. I write this as my slope formula. It's the same thing. It means change in y's. It means I take one of the y's and I subtract the other y from it. change in x's means I take one of the x's and I subtract the other x from it. Okay? So now in practical terms, if I was using this, this would be my x1 and my y1. This would be my x2 and my y2. So I could plug it in. To me, this is way too complicated. Oh
But
no,
wouldn't
where's
you-
my y2? My
What?
y2 is, my y2, oh, there's my y2. So that's 8 minus, let me think, I need my y1, let me think. There it is. Oh, that is 4. That's complicated to me. And then
Why would
x2,
you do that,
x2, oh, it's that. And then minus, what is it, x1, oh, that's 2, okay, 2. Which means my answer is 4 over 4, which is 1.
Well, that's
I like
too
that one.
So what I prefer, I'm going to teach you my way, right? And I would suggest you do this because it's so much easier to write that as your formula.
But could we do it the other way?
You can, totally fine.
Why? How?
But
come
I'm
they
doing
make
it that way. I do it that way too, but I do it quicker and more easily.
How come?
So here it is,
How come they make it look really
horribly hard.
hard?
And
with
it really
y2
isn't.
minus y1.
Yeah, I don't know.
Instead of just
Right,
writing the
Good question.
the equation.
good question.
So.
Now, what I do, if those are my two numbers, this is what I do. I say, I look at one of these. It doesn't matter which one I start with, but I have to start. If I start with this one, with that 4 for my y, I have to start with this one as my x. I can't start with this y and then go and start with this x on the bottom. I can't do that. I'll get the totally wrong answer. So what I do is I put a box around the one I'm going to start with. And the way I choose personally is I look at my y's, since the first thing I always write are my y's because they're upstairs in the numerator. I choose the y that's bigger because I'm more likely to be dealing with a positive number if I do that, right? That y is 8. So what I do is I put a box around this. Okay? Maybe I'll use a different color. I put a box around this. And then I do m is equal to, I would suggest you do this for each one. Write the equation for now. Just write delta y over delta x, the change in y over the change in x. And then put in equals. So I want everybody to start their equations this way, okay? For everyone in the homework today, do that so that you know this so well you could do it in your sleep. And then I start with what's in my box. And which one's my y? This one, right? I start with that one. 8 minus. The formula always means minus. That's why I have a change there. A delta means minus. 8 minus. And then over here, I find my y and I put a 4. And then I put my line. And then I go back to my box again and I start with my x. 6 minus. The formula says minus. And then I look at my x over here. It's 2, which is equal to 4 over 4, which is equal to 1. It's so much easier. I don't have to find my x1 and my y1 and my x2 and my y2. I'm just finding that y minus that y over that x minus that x. Does that make sense?
Wait a second.
That
we're
y
doing the
minus
exact
that y
same thing.
over that x minus that x. It's really easy. Yes.
We're doing like the exact same thing as I one because you have to know
Exactly.
which one comes first.
To me, this is simpler though.
But
I'm just thinking it's this y minus this y over this x minus this x versus x2 minus x1 and x2, whatever.
Oh, it just makes the
It's
formula
the same
look
thing.
simpler.
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
same thing. It truly is the same thing.
okay, so this would obviously not be a logical way to do it. But what if we tried to do like 2 minus 6 equals negative 4, and then 4 minus 8 equals negative 4, and then you would get the same thing. Yeah, you did. Never mind.
Say, you can't start with the x. You'd have to start. I could have started with this one. I could have said 4 minus 8 would have been negative 4
And that would have been
over 2 minus 6 would have been negative 4. Negative 4 over negative 4, negative divided by negative is positive, is 4 over 4, which is 1. It works either way. Doesn't matter which point you choose. So let's quickly do one example, one more example so we have it. And actually maybe 2, really fast. The bell's gonna ring any second, so just bear with me. So let's say we had 9 comma 2 and negative 8 comma 4. And negative tells you to wake up, right? So I'm going to look, which one do I like? I like that's my y's bigger, I'm gonna put a box around this one. I'm gonna say m equals the change in y over the change in x. It means I'm putting my y's upstairs. Common problem is people put their x's upstairs. Even when they know the problem, they know the formula. They put x's upstairs, it's y's. So I'm gonna start with this one because that's my box. 4 minus 2 over negative 8 minus 9. So my answer is 2 over
negative 17.
negative 17. I go negative 8 minus 9 more, that's negative
your
17.
answer.
But is
So
that
that's
an
my
improper
answer.
fraction? Because it's a
That's
negative
not-
number, it's below 0. And the 2 is
Totally,
above 0.
it's okay to have a negative number. It just means the graph, well, instead of going that way, it'll be going that way. It'll be sloping like that,
Okay.
right?
Oh, yeah, because you're working with
Negative.
coordinates,
We're-
not that.
Yeah.
Under that.
So we're dealing with slope, okay?
Yes.
So that's the first one. Let's do one more. Let's make it harder, so that,
I get this.
let's see, let's say we have 2 comma 5 and negative 6 comma negative 6. All right,
So Rich,
so I'm gonna look for my y that's bigger. It's this one. I put a box around it, right? And I say, okay, m is equal to the change in y over the change in x, which means I'm starting with my y's. I'm gonna start with this 5, and the change means minus. You with me?
Yep.
This is the classic mistake. People go 5 minus 6. It's
No.
5 minus, then you look at the point. It's 5 minus a minus 6 over
Parentheses around
2
6.
minus a minus 6. But 5 minus minus means 5
Wait, how
plus.
come in your previous problem it was 4 minus 2?
Because you
And
go with
four
the
was
larger.
bigger.
You go with the larger.
Oh, the previous one, I was showing somebody how to do it the other way, using the other point with the smaller one. That's why.
Also works.
I was just showing that it works.
It would also be right though, even if it was negative 11.
I don't remember the previous one, to be honest with you. But I can look at that in a second. But you guys all see this? 5 minus minus 6? The formula says 5 minus.
So
And
how
then I
many
got a
plus?
minus 6, so that's 5 plus 6. That's 5 plus 6. And then that's 2 plus 6. So that gives me 11 over 8. And that is my fraction. If it's an improper fraction, that's okay. Question.
You have to do y first, or does it matter?
Always do your y first. Your y has to be on top. And choose whichever y you want. It doesn't really matter. It's just that if you choose the smaller y, you're more likely to be dealing with a negative numbers, and you'll have to simplify.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much.
Gary.
Subscribe!
Wow.